PAC, and I want to assure you that we're much more than just about enrollment, as you see here. I think we're actually more about transparency and voter participation than anything. The enrollment, the question was asked, I think, in our first forum in Grand Ronde, and the people who are there answered it, but we've had questions about all kinds of topic here, and it's just a forum for people to ask candidates directly. Our ultimate goal is to elect the best qualified candidates. And that's where we're at. And I really appreciate you coming, because it really shows that you are coming from a good place and you have the best interest. There is a slate of candidates that refuse to participate in anything the PAC does, because they want to delegitimize what we're trying to do. They want to spread misinformation about what we do, what we stand for, because they understand that the way the current tribal elections are structured, it is to an advantage to run a slate that has large families that back that slate. And that is the dilemma we discussed last week, and the statement I wanted to make as well about is the fact that this year we have 5 excellent candidates. And the PAC members, myself included, I don't know who I can support. And I'm disappointed because all 5 names are on the ballots that are going to go out. There's nothing we can do to change that. And even though I firmly believe there is a slight majority that share similar views as these 5 candidates do about transparency and about voter participation and general counsel's ability to be involved in making decisions, we're going to split across 5 candidates, and we're ultimately going to lose because the current election process allows for those powerful slates of 3 to elect their candidates, and we're going to continue with the lack of transparency. We're going to continue with these issues because of the fact that we have so many qualified candidates that are running with our current election process. And yet, the only statement I was going to ask a question, because it came up last week, was and I think where the PAC is encouraging maybe the tribe and these candidates to think about, and I won't ask a question due to time, but a primary, the primary that narrowly lost, the constitutional amendment for the primary, if that would have passed, I think this wouldn't be as big of a problem, because we would only have 6 candidates ultimately that would go into a general, and we would be assuring that we would have these 5 would then compete in the primary. They would, the slate of 3 likely will finish in that top because they've got so many votes, and then 3 of the 5 here would finish, and then there would be a general where it's 3 versus 3 ultimately. And our goal at the PAC is to get rid of the slates. We want the individual council members that are highly qualified, but with the current paradigm and the current mechanisms, it's the slate of 3 that are going to get elected. And so we are just, heartbroken this year that we find ourselves with 5 excellent candidates, because it's not going to bode well. And my gut, it's not going to bode well this year, and we're going to be stuck again with the current majority that, is not for transparency, that isn't for the things that we stand for, and allowing general counsel to be a majority. And that's why you guys earlier saw me coming a bit to the defense of the minority that's on there. I honestly believe that when you're a minority council member, you are bound. Your hands are tied. Because 1, your livelihood is at stake. 2, the majority in the current laws right now, they can go after you, and it has happened. What happened to Kathy was a perfect example of that, when she was put off the council just on the whim of a new majority, and we want to change that. And so I just would, we still have, there's a lot of trust that we need to rebuild among the like-minded members in this tribe, and I encourage us next year to really think about how we can rebuild trust so that we can get, these 5 excellent, we're not in the same situation where we have 5 difficult, 5 highly qualified candidates, and we have a difficult decision to make. And then, it'd be great if we only had to slate ourselves. That's what I mean. So
my point on that is that what's more important? You as an individual, your needs, livelihood, like you said, or is it this general membership and the needs of the general membership? What's more important, your individual or the general membership? Just down the line, just one word.
Well, I got more than one word. Brought to us
This
last
was
Saturday.
kind of in Portland, and was the first I'd even heard of it, and it was kind of shocking. And I walked away really upset, hurt more than anything, because I didn't feel like we had been, I kind of felt like I just didn't like the way it happened. But I was riding with Kathy in her car, and we talked about it. And between almost getting in 5 wrecks and everything else that happened and missing turns and all the things that happened, it was decided that, okay, you know, maybe they're right. Maybe we do need to narrow it down to 3 candidates. And so we decided between the 2 of us that one of us would drop out because the tribe was more important. And we sent that proposal to the other 3 candidates, and for whatever reason, they chose that they were not interested. So we tried. Thank you.
And I think to be fair to all the candidates, it wasn't directly sent to them, it was sent to me and my brother, and we shared it. It wasn't a direct request. We followed up immediately with the election board, and they didn't get back to us until like Thursday. Nobody was in the office answering phones, nothing there. Ultimately, we heard the ballots had already been printed earlier than normal, and they would not reprint them. And while it would be possible that the ballots would go out with all 5 names. And
What about the Philip and Wallace statements? When is it?
yeah, those have all been submitted, I imagine, right? You guys have, so those will probably come out sometime soon, yeah.
Hopefully before.
Early,
Yeah.
early July.
But
So
you guys, just to let you know a little bit more about the various sides. Yeah, we're candidates all based on enrollment. They're doing the same things you are. And that's how the votes are going. They're trying to get support their way. I mean, I see what you're doing with these PACs, but every time they try and get support, they say, well, the PAC, geez, you know, if you're not for opening up the rules, why go? So somehow we have to bridge that gap. I come in this room and everybody looks at me differently because I'm on the other side of the fence on enrollment. But I still consider everybody. I'd like to get to the point where we can all agree to disagree. It's really tough.
Yeah, I'm with you there. You know, I would disagree that the other side is doing it the same way we're doing it. We're doing this openly and transparently as well. And, you know, I'm really disappointed in Steve Bob this year. This is the first time Steve has run and not participated in our forums.
Been
Steve
above
has
board. He
always
comes
been,
to all the forums and
he would speak. But this year he's thrown, you know, he has made the decision not to participate.
Well, he just got back in town, he got a private message, you know, he
I understand, but you know, normally he would let me know too. But this time, I don't think it's the same. It's the only point. I take a little offense at that because I think they're much more.
I tried to get him out here as much as I could.
Can we bring it back to the 5 though?
Yeah.
I'd like to, even though your names can't be taken off the ballot, you can certainly go on social media, write a letter to the editor. You could throw your support, say, if you're gonna vote for me, vote for these 3. We could do that. Yeah, we might lose some votes, people don't get the message, but there'd be a way of consolidating this 5 down to 3. We could.
And I don't want the candidates to have to answer that, Andy, because I don't think it's a fair question for them to do it. And here's why. This
Why don't
late.
you let them answer if it's a fair question or not?
Okay. I'll let them do that. All right. Ed, I'll let them do that.
No.
Okay.
Instead of you making your conjecture, let them answer, is it fair or not?
That's fine. We've had that conversation, and we know the answer. But go ahead.
Well, I didn't think it was fair last week. So that was a hard decision Kathy and I made. And we talked about it at great lengths. And the decision was made because we felt it was best for the tribe. But, and we had to stand behind it. Because we would be making some promises for not just this year, but for next year. So there was a lot to talk about. It wasn't just one of us dropping out. It was about who are we going to support next year. And we both said it's the right thing to do. And so we offered.
So
Even though that was a total blindside last Saturday.
So, and we are happy that question is videotaped. We're happy to post that question, and people can draw their own conclusions of whether the question was a blindside or directed to anyone in particular. I think most folks would as soon as say that it was just a fair question of the conundrum that we find ourselves. And I want to bring this back again. We have 5 highly qualified candidates that have similar views. That's get away from the personalities and who should or who shouldn't. You know, the fact that 2 candidates offered, but the other 3 won't, these other 3 are independent people. They have to make the decisions themselves at this point in of their campaigns. Are they likely to get on still in this current environment or not? I mean, that all goes into that. Because the first one to raise their hand that accepts the offer, they've thrown out money, effort, everything they've put into it to this point. That's a difficult decision to make. So that's the fairness issue. Andy, I'm happy to have them answer
I'd like
it.
to hear from each of them.
I'll let them do that, but I think it's an unfair question in my opinion. That's just my opinion, Andy.
That's my
I think it's a matter of timing. The question came in a bad time. I think this question should have been brought up and discussed months ago. Some say there weren't meetings, but there were meetings. That's where I think we fall short. We can't come together. We can't invite everybody and have the meetings so we can have a discussion. We all heard that question at the same time. I kind of took a breath when I heard it from Brian and thought, that's a different question. It was posed to us, I think almost pleading by some people to come together as 5 and have a discussion. That did not happen, which I believe is part of what we are frustrated about with tribal council. We don't come together as a team and discuss. So we missed out on an opportunity to do that. As far as the timing goes, my first letter did go out, $1,600. But it's not about the money for me. And I went through the questions. We all got an email pleading us to meet together and consider these points. And although we didn't meet together, I did consider every one of those points. I talked to people who supported me. I talked to people who didn't support me. I talked to my family, and I went through every point by point. So I did what I needed to do, and I came to the conclusion that I needed to come to. I am not running for a career. I am not running for money. I never have. I never have. I have a very, very blessed life. Not easy, but blessed life. I simply want to share what I have, my skills, my abilities, my experiences with other cultures, with my own culture. I simply am worried and concerned about our future and our children. Our children are watching what's happening in our tribe. And it greatly saddens me that they are going to continue to see what's happening in our tribe.
Go ahead, Jim.
I'm speaking, I know you need to get us out of here too, Brenda, I know that too. So I will make this short, I guess. So I'm speaking as respect to all 5 or all 4 of you from this. And I guess if we want to talk about transparency, I knew 3 of us were running way before the nominations. So 2. And so, but out of that, I respect all of us, and I think that, you know, their decisions are, I think every decision here is valid on that point, and so we're just either that, I guess either the membership's gonna have to decide.
That's the quickest he's ever been on.
Every year there are elections for 3 candidates, and we get a variety of them. The people make the decision, whether they're informed decisions. Some probably aren't, but I tend to believe that many are. And my hope is that the reflection of our people comes through the candidates in terms of honesty, integrity, being able to care for one another, being able to look after the business in a serious manner. That's really my hope, because the vote is a reflection of the people. The question about whether or not, I had considered running, even faced with 5 candidates. I care about every one of these candidates here, related to them. And so I thought long and hard, and of course, I think most folks know my mom, and she is the elder Tom of the Tom family. And I was talking with her about it, and I really value her opinion. And she said, there have been more serious things that have happened. This is an important time, but I believe that your value and what you've been able to do is very strong. And I think that you need to stay in there and do what you can. If you're not successful, then that's also a message, that you will take. And she said, and I talked with my family about it and others. So the decision that I make for me and what I want to do is really, I do have visions for the tribe. I think if one thing that folks know me as, it's really as a visionary, and being able to project beliefs that I have in the direction that the tribe needs to go. So, I considered the options there. I only wish that there were the opportunity to discuss this early on, not the day of nominations or afterwards. I think would have made a very big difference.
Okay.
I think we have a challenge here today. We have 5 wonderful candidates here that are in favor of all of the things that need to happen within the tribe, and for much better outcomes. I want to address what you said, Clifford, about it's no different. It is different because these meetings are open to everybody, and the other meetings are private, and they're private to just certain people that are invited. So there is a difference in that respect. And for me, it's not about winning or losing. I too talked to my dad, and my dad said to me, there's more work for you to do, Kathy. There's more things that you need to be there for. And I had to give that a lot of consideration, because I've been very happy gardening and doing whatever I want to do. It's a great life. I've got my health back. I've lost 30 pounds. I'm happy. I'm actually smiling and glad to see people. And my health has gotten better. And now I'm running back into the flames. However, I've thought of how to handle that now, the stress, because every day on council I was targeted just about. And I think it was because I was outspoken. And I think everybody that's in this room knows that I'm outspoken, and you know where I stand, where I always stand. I don't mince words. If you ask me, I'll tell you. Did I get an email? You talked about emails.
Yeah, so I think there was 2 emails that came out, one from you all sending an email, and then a follow-up from the Chief Thomas clan that had the things to think about that went out. And then we responded, I think yesterday I sent a response after we had heard from the election office and all the candidates.
One of the things that I see missing in is a choice. And I think you have a choice today. Instead of, this is who you're gonna vote for, this is your only choice, you have a decision to make. And you have a choice. It's not just, these are the 3 candidates, this is who you're gonna vote for. And so I get really a little upset because we want to portray ourselves as being democratic. And by saying you're not electable, you're the least electable, you're splitting the vote, I think that sends a negative message, because we want people to get involved, and we want people to vote, and we want people to be our elected officials that have the same goals and objectives that we have. And so I think that for me, this is a choice, and a great choice. And we're not being told who we have to vote for, like some of the others. Here's the 3 people, whether you like it or not, this is who you're gonna vote for. And anyone sitting up on this panel would be a good choice for all of us. And that's what it's always been about for me. It's about all of us. And that person that represents those same kind of feelings and the same kind of things that are important to me in this tribe, and taking us into that next phase. So like Ann said, one of us said that we would step down, and that was an offer, but now it's not, and we're moving on, and I'm glad you guys all have a choice. You've watched these, they're on the video, they're on Facebook. You can call us, you read our letters, and it's up to you. And I believe in my heart that we're not going to lose. I just refuse to believe that, and I don't want that mindset for people. We need to come together and vote the best 3 people out of this 5, and I think that you can do it. You've done it before. Look at the ABCs and 2Ps. We all came together and we made a big difference in the organization. And for the first time, we started transparency by videoing and all kinds of different things. So I think that can happen again. Did I answer your
Just
question?
real quick, I have to say, I appreciate that there were meetings, Brenda. I wish other people would have been told about it. I mean, you say that it's split. You said there was meetings before. I never got invited to a meeting by anybody.
I didn't either.
No, I think she's speaking of the meeting that you guys had and posted on Facebook. So there was, I think, Andy
I thought you were
was
talking
there.
about before nominations meetings.
Yeah,
No, see,
it was
and this
before.
is where I think.
So just so you know, Andy, where she was coming from, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, there was Shelley was there. You guys David Lewis was there. You guys took you said campaign 2016 or something. Somebody did something like that.
Where at that meeting, nobody was gonna.
No one was going to run. That wasn't even that.
Well, but nobody knew about that, so all we saw was that, So I mean, just that little post, people ran with that, nobody knew what it was about, and 2 people in the picture ran. So I think that's what you're referring to. Is that?
I've heard rumors of all kinds of meetings. I've not been invited to any.
Well,
You know how rumors.
that was a barbecue at Kathy's house.
What?
But okay.
Unless you learned about posting in social media election.
Yeah. I don't think it named any candidates.
We didn't mean it to shake you up.
Well, it didn't shake us up.
someone
It
else
didn't shake us up.
And anyway, I really believe that question should have been, we should have meetings. We should talk amongst each other, because ultimately that's what it's about.
And the PAC should have meetings before a forum.
And the reality is, last year at this meeting, we had the same thing. And I think I said almost identically the same thing. The 5 of you need to go back in a room, and 3 of you need to come out.
Yeah.
Hopefully, nobody else is bloody or anything, but come out and say, the 3 of us are gonna run.
I mean,
Yeah.
don't
So-
you think the other camp knows this? They're not even campaigning, they know the votes are gonna get split. You don't think they're sitting around saying, we don't need to do anything?
They are saying.
Yeah.
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 No, and Andy, that's exactly, I mean, the question you asked last year is why I asked it last week. It was essentially the same question, And
So my question is, if the 5 of us go in a room and we have a vote, who do you think is walking out without?
It has to be for the greater good. I mean, they're gonna have a supermajority.
We made an offer. We did.
Put your names in
And
the hat,
we-
draw 3.
And we met by it. Yeah, I like that idea better.
You wanna penetrate that level of bureaucracy to that sacrifice.
Well, we are where we are this year, I think, and it's, you know, and it's.
There's the ultimate.
Well, you know, the PAC, we are trying to be, honestly be nonpartisan here. We're focusing on the election process, transparency. We don't want to have call meetings in the off season and because we want everyone to participate here. And if we were to call meetings, so if somebody else wants to step up and call those meetings, I think that, you know, I would not as the PAC, but as myself as a voter tribal member, participate. But I don't think it's for the PAC to be calling those kind of meetings to select 3 ahead of the nominations. I honestly don't. Because we're seriously about supporting the tribal election process, and we want everyone to participate. And if we select 3, then we become partisan.
No, but maybe in your meetings to promote more engagement from the members, that out of those meetings, this would be a natural step where there would be that dialogue and 3 would come out of those meetings, not necessarily by a vote, but just from the fact of people meeting together and talking together and strategizing and saying, what can we do? You know, I mean, I guess I still come to the place where my original question was, what's more important? Your personal, getting elected, your livelihood, if that's your livelihood, or the greater good of the tribal, for the tribal membership. I think we all agree in this room that the power structure needs to change, and that by having 5, it makes it real hard for that to happen. So that was my original question. You don't have to answer it, but think about it.
And that was the statement I'm trying to make to you.
Yeah.
At the end. And what do we do next year to prevent this from happening again? And that's what I want, because this is our last meeting, you know, and I want folks to think about it, and because we need to do something, because my gut tells me it's not going to turn out well this year.
And I'm not asking
we have
the
5
PAC to
qualified
make-
people. Everybody here will get more than 200 votes, I guarantee it.
And I'm not asking the PAC to facilitate the 5 choosing it. I'm saying the 5 get together. If there's no easy way to do it, put your names in a hat, draw it out. The 3 that come out, everyone's going to get behind them and campaign hard for them. Because we are where we are.
You know, and
She would be the one to call a meeting next year
Early on.
outside the pack early on
Good.
and get the conversation started, so.
I think what the Howler-Lino group do, they have meetings. They start having meetings in November.
You're darn right they do.
And they vote. It's the choice of that group. They vote who they want to represent. It's not our choice up here. It's their choice. And then they come down. It's a primary. They have their own primary.
Had it.
Yeah, they've had it. It's done. We didn't have that. We had a question presented to us last Saturday as the last question after nominations, which makes it difficult for anybody on this panel because it's like it was too late.
Yeah, I agree.
Can I just throw something in there?
Sure.
I mean, I'm surprised no one's looking at me because
You guys
all along, I still think
asking
narrowing the field down to 3 is only part of the equation. There has to be effort and dedication on the part of the candidates. If you're not willing to spend $2,000 or $3,000, I don't think you should be running. If you're not willing to spend a few hours a day working on your campaign, I don't think you should be running. So even if you narrow it down to 3, it's still going to come down to the individual appeal of the candidates themselves and their dedication.
Sure.
Well, I'd add knowledge and experience to that as well.
Okay, sure.
I mean, never mind.
Well, hopefully we would select knowledgeable and experienced people to 3. I mean, that's what we have 5 of. You know, that's the challenge. So, all right, well, let's give them a round of applause. Wish them luck.